All right, let me introduce myself. My name is Bailey Parker, and I'm the Communications Director here at the South Carolina Department of Consumer Affairs. I've been here for about 4 years now, and I love doing these webinars. I love giving presentations like this one, and I'm happy to be talking about Identity Theft Awareness Month. December is officially Identity Theft Awareness Month for the year of 2022, and we're going to talk about the identity theft basics. So we're not going to go in depth on the different types of scams, because if you've been here before, we always go in depth on the other types. I'll show you where you can view those other webinars if you hadn't had a chance to see those. But we're going to go over the identity theft basics. So what it is, kind of how it happens, how you can prevent it, because prevention is the main thing here. We want to prevent identity theft before it happens. And then we'll talk a little bit about if you unfortunately have become a victim, what happens then? What should you do? So let's jump into this. I always have to give this, so I apologize if you've been here a billion times. I'm not an attorney. You don't want legal advice from me. This presentation is not meant to serve as a substitute for seeking legal counsel. We're not going to talk about any specific laws today, but this definitely is not meant to serve as a substitute for seeking legal counsel if you need it, or acting as a substitute for interpretations of laws. The presentation is merely serving as an introduction and overview of the topic. So usually here I introduce the agency. I'm actually going to skip over that today. If you want to learn more about SCDCA, if this is your first time here, welcome. We are the state's consumer protection agency, and most people know us for being able to file complaints against businesses, but we also do these identity theft and scam presentations almost every single Wednesday. We will be taking a break here for the holidays, but I'm skipping over that so we can really get into this and cover as much as possible. So we're going to go over what identity theft is. We're going to go over the red flags, because that's the key here. If you know the red flags, you can hopefully identify and avoid becoming a victim. Then how can you protect your information, right? What can we do to prevent identity theft from happening? And then what if I am a victim? What is going to happen after that point if I find out I am a victim? So what are some myths about identity theft? Well, one of the myths I hear often is identity theft is easy to recover from. No big deal. I'll just challenge all those things that I find on my credit report. It's not so simple. So if you find out that somebody has stolen your identity, whether it's by opening credit cards or by opening up utility accounts, whatever way your identity has been stolen, it's going to take time. Oftentimes, it's going to take years to recover from this. I've heard stories from South Carolinians who have been victims of identity theft who say that they've gone through the recovery process of identity theft, and then a couple years down the line, it all starts again. Because what happens is their information is then resold or found by some other criminal, and then that criminal starts using their information again. So it is not an easy process, which is why prevention is key. I'll know right away if my identity is stolen. No, oftentimes we as people are not doing what we're supposed to be doing. We're not being diligent in checking our credit reports. We're not checking our financial statements as often as we should be, because it takes time, right? And I know for myself, it's just, you know, I've got 2 young kids and a full-time job. You know, I'm busy. We're all busy people. We've got busy lives. And so doing all of those other things just takes more time. And do I want to be doing those things? Probably not. So I am not checking those things as often as I should, which means I'm not knowing as soon as I should if I am a victim. You can get a new Social Security number. It's not true. You can't just go out and get a new Social Security number. The only time you're ever going to be offered a new Social Security number in a legal way is if you are a member or you are entered into the Witness Protection Program, which obviously is only for certain individuals in certain situations. If you're a victim of identity theft, usually that does not qualify you, oftentimes does not qualify you for the Witness Protection Program. So you're not just going to get a new Social Security number. You can't just walk into the Social Security Administration office and say, hey, I've been a victim of identity theft. I need a new Social Security number. They're not going to give you one. You stay with your number for your entire life, unless something really crazy happens to you and you're in the Witness Protection Program. Personal information like my birthday is useless to criminals. I don't need that information. So no big deal that I gave it over to them. No, your information, maybe that seems as innocuous as a birthday, is useful to criminals. So don't be giving over information like that. Things like your maiden name, your mother's maiden name, your middle name, things like that. Don't give it over. Be protective of all of your personal information. Finances are the only thing affected by identity theft. Finances may be one of the main things that we automatically think of when it comes to identity theft, but it's not the only thing. We can be affected by identity theft in so many different ways. Of course, we can be affected by not being able to apply for credit, but it can also affect our ability to use our benefits, use our Social Security benefits, use our insurance benefits, medical benefits. So many different other areas will be affected that it's completely life altering. So don't think it's just, oh, I need to shut a credit card down. It is completely life altering. And there's nothing you can do to protect from identity theft. Well, that's why we're here today, right? I keep saying prevention is the key. And nothing I'm going to say today is going to cost you money. Everything that Consumer Affairs talks about is going to be free. So, and it's most likely going to, take a few steps. It's going to take a little bit of time and effort on your part. But I think that time and effort is worth it. I think maybe the effort it's going to take and maybe that little bit of a headache that it may cause now is worth the giant migraine down the line. It would be if you find out you've been a victim of identity theft, right? That's what I always tell people. The little bit of the headache it is now to place the freeze, the security freeze, is worth it versus the migraine it's going to be when you become a victim of identity theft. So there are plenty of things you can do to protect yourself from identity theft. So what really is identity theft? Identity theft is when somebody uses your personal or financial information without your permission and commits fraud with that information. So if somebody steals your information and then just keeps it and never uses it, technically that's not identity theft. If they're not using your information to commit fraud with it, it's not technically identity theft. That's just, I don't know why they would do that. So yes, it's somebody who steals your personal or financial information and is using it for themselves, and oftentimes to act as you. How is that information used? In all of these ways. Now, this is not an exhaustive list, but these are the very common ways. They can buy things with your credit cards, debit cards, or any financial information. This number 2 here, or this second bullet here, I want to highlight. They can get new credit cards or loans in your name. Not new credit cards. I just wrote a press release about Identity Theft Awareness Month and sent that out. Maybe you received it if you're on our subscriber list. Getting new credit cards in somebody's name, that was the #1 way, or so far this year is the #1 way South Carolinians have reported identity theft to us this year alone. So just want to say that this is a very common way of identity theft. An identity thief using your information, so your social security number, your name, your financial information, to apply for a new credit card and then go out and use that credit card. Open up a phone line. If you're going to go out and get a new cell phone, they're going to check your credit report. So somebody is going to use your credit report information and go apply for a cell phone. Get electricity, utilities, gas accounts in your name. It's not just credit card accounts anymore. Utility accounts are going to be checking your credit report. Stealing your tax refund. This is also very common. It was the #1 way of identity theft last year. So in 2021, this was the #1 way of identity theft reported in South Carolina for 2021. Use your health insurance to get medical care, and then also pretend to be you if they're arrested. So they can have your information, and if they're pulled over and say they were speeding or doing something illegal of some kind, or they're found with drugs, they can use your information if they're arrested. How do they get your information? So old-fashioned identity theft, how does it happen? How are they getting your driver's license? How are they getting your social security number? Oftentimes it's directly from you. You're telling them, I'm telling them. Well, how are we telling them? Over the phone, on social media. We're responding to their direct messages. We're clicking on those links. We're doing those things that we know we're not supposed to, but we don't read the email, or we don't read the text, or we don't think about it, so we click it. We're not really thinking, and so we just click it, or we respond to the text, and because we don't know the number, and so we think, oh, and there's no harm in this, so we respond. It's usually from us. So we are usually the culprits in our own identity theft. Now, that doesn't mean that we can't be more protective. I'll give you the red flags in just a second so we can be more protective of our information. But yes, it's usually us. And that's because scammers are very convincing, right, when they call us. So, or they text us or email us, or whatever way that they're contacting us. Security breaches. Now, this is something we don't have control over, unfortunately. There are laws, of course, that are on the books to protect consumers, and also that make businesses protect consumer information, but security breaches happen, and they're going to continue to happen. We're the state agency for South Carolina that takes security breach notices. So we get those notices from businesses whenever a security breach happens for South Carolinians, or amongst a business where South Carolinians' information has been breached. And we know that these just keep coming in, right? We keep getting these notices. This is something we don't have control over as consumers. So this is why we need to take control, and we need to put some safeguards in place, because these security breaches are going to continue to happen. Next week, our administrator is going to talk about the laws that are in place that businesses should be following to protect your information. But these hackers are really smart, and there are bad actors that work within these businesses that create these breaches. So they're going to continue to happen no matter what laws are in place. So that's why we need to be protecting ourselves. Lost or stolen wallets. This happened to me. It just so happened I got a new job and they needed my physical social security card. I don't know why, but they needed my physical social security card. So I put it in my wallet. I drove the 4.5 hours down. I gave it to them. They photocopied it. And then I drove back up. I forgot it in my wallet. And then a week later, we went to go move. And we went to go to the grocery store to get an ice box. And somebody took my wallet out of the grocery cart and tried to attempt to buy a car in my name. That I do not carry my social security card in my wallet ever. That just happened to be a time where I put it in my wallet because my new job needed it and I forgot it in there, right? I wasn't thinking. And luckily, that criminal was just lazy because I shut down everything after that point. Shut down all of my cards, shut down everything that I could, all of my bank accounts. And they got lazy, and so they just threw all of my cards and my social security card in the street. And there happened to be a nice person who called me, found my information and called me and said, do you want me to shred all of this? I got really lucky. That does not happen to everybody. So I didn't end up being a victim of the stereotypical identity theft. Did somebody try and steal my identity? Yes, they did. But this happens often. Theft by family or friends. This is bold and italicized for a reason. For your friends and family members, we don't want to think that they're going to take advantage of us, but they can, for sure. They're going to play on our emotions, and they're going to take advantage of that trust in that relationship if they fall on hard times. We get a lot of calls from older adults who say that their grandchildren or even their children have taken advantage of them because for one reason or another, they needed money. They called and said, oh, I need your social security number. And then they find out later that a credit card or a loan has been opened up in their name. So this happens often. Dumpster diving. This still happens. There are still criminals who are out there. So if you get those pre-approvals in the mail, shred them, rip them up, burn them, whatever you need to do, because you don't want to be that person who just throws away a credit card pre-approval and then somebody's dumpster diving finds it and then uses that pre-approval for themselves in your name. And then stolen mail. If you're still paying for things by mail through through a check, whatever, that's fine. Just please, please, please take that check. Don't just put it into your mailbox and walk away. Please take that check into your post office, walk it into the building and put it in the building in there, not just the blue box. This is like the good, better, best concept. I would actually say bad, better, best. Bad is your mailbox, even with the lock. And then better is the blue box. And then best is the actual post office building. It's so easy to break into your individual box these days, even if it has a lock. The blue boxes are safer, but they still can get broken into. And then taking it into the post office is the safest bet, especially for paying for things by check. Because if a criminal gets your check, sure, they can wipe that check and use that check for whatever they want. But even better, the bottom of that check, they have your entire bank account information. They got your bank account number and your routing information. They can do whatever they want with that. So please, yes, it takes extra time. It's a little inconvenient, but all the safest methods are going to take extra time and be a little inconvenient. I want you to keep an open mind about scammers and identity thieves. They can contact you in any way now, over the phone, through your mailbox, text messages, emails, fake websites, in person. Some of these people are coming straight to your door. We know that scammers follow the headlines when it comes to news. So there are scammers that will actually, they're disaster followers. And so after hurricanes, they'll actually show up to hurricane disaster areas and act like government agencies or different types of agencies or organizations that are supposed to be helping with rebuilding areas, and they'll start stealing people's information or money. They're horrible people. These are criminals. I get a lot of questions of like, well, isn't this illegal? Yes, of course it's illegal, but they don't care. They're criminals, okay? So no matter the method, they're gonna try and get your money or your information in any way they can. They have no shame. They're criminals, okay? So just know, keep an open mind. Just because you haven't heard of a scam doesn't mean it's not a scam. I also hear from people like, oh, well, I know every scam there is out there. Scammers do this for a living. They are developing new tactics every single day. I will even say, I don't know every scam there is out there because they're developing one right now that I probably don't know of, right? So to say you know every scam out there is just untrue. So as long as you know the red flags, this is what really matters. The red flags are the same across the board. We may not be able to know every scam out there, but if you know the red flags, you can avoid getting scammed and having your identity stolen. I do want to clarify, just because you're the victim of a scam doesn't mean you're the victim of identity theft. But oftentimes, the victims of identity theft, it starts with a scam of some sort. So I just want to clarify that. Here are the common signs of a scam that could lead to identity theft. Scammers to pretend to be someone you know or recognize. I mentioned about those scammers that are showing up to disaster areas. They're pretending to be FEMA. They're pretending to be a government agency that you know and recognize. They're pretending to be another organization that is rebuilding homes. That's really well known. They're pretending to be a blood donor organization. Whatever it is, they're pretending to be someone you know or recognize. This could go also with, they could pretend to be someone you know or recognize on Facebook. It could be someone acting like a friend, friending you on Facebook, but actually they're just catfishing your friend on Facebook. Catfishing meaning they've just copied your friend's Facebook profile and they're friending you now. This is what scammers do. The reason they do this is because they're looking to gain your trust. They're looking to play off of that notoriety or that well-known relationship to gain your, oh yeah, I know that person. I know that person really well. This happened to me actually. I used to work in TV years ago. I was a sports reporter in Utah, but my husband wanted to move here to get a master's. So years later, we move here and my husband's going to school. I get a message on Instagram from a man named Bob Evans, who was a very well-known anchor, news anchor, still is, in Salt Lake City, Utah, that I worked with for years. Bob Evans is the nicest guy and is one of the most well-known faces in Utah. I get a message from him on Instagram and I thought, oh my gosh, Bob Evans has an Instagram now. They must have made him get an Instagram. And he says, Bailey, how you doing? I said, Bob, I'm doing well. He said, so how's your husband doing in school? This person knew that my husband was in school. This person knew that I had moved to South Carolina. They knew all of these details about me. They played off the relationship that they knew that I had with Bob because we worked together at the news station. And then all of a sudden, after the few messages that we had exchanged back and forth, said, hey, I know your husband is going to school. I just found this amazing grant opportunity. I really think you should apply. Here's the link. It's going to ask you for some information. That's when I knew it was a scammer. So I reported the account. Bob Evans, one, the first tip-off should have been Bob Evans would never get an Instagram. But two, Bob Evans would never be giving out grant opportunities on Instagram. But this scammer was using a well-known, well-loved face to message people to gain people's trust, and probably was successful with some other people. I hope not, hopefully before that profile got taken down, but that's how this works. Scammers say there's a problem or a prize. And these red flags can go together or they can be separate. So scammers will say there's a problem that needs to be fixed, or there's something that you can gain. There's a prize. For me, in that situation I described before, grants. I could get some money, right? All I need to do is fill out an application that requires me to give all of my information, including my social security number. So With a problem, all of the scams in the book can fall underneath this. It can be utility scams. Your utility bill hasn't been paid. It could be tax scams. It could be grandparent scams. It could be everything, right? There's some sort of problem and you need to fix it. The scammer is presenting you with that problem. Or there's a prize. You've won money. You've won a giveaway. You've won a lottery. All you need to do is either fill out this form or pay for a fee for taxes or pay for insurance. No. Huge red flag. Scammers will pressure you to act immediately. Another thing I didn't mention about that situation with the grant scheme, this person said, Bob Evans, said that the grant expired in 24 hours. You know, grants don't expire like that. It's not how that works, okay? So that person was pressuring me to act immediately. Why do you think scammers do that? Why do scammers want you to act fast? It's because they don't want you to think. They know the faster you act, the less time you have to think about something and to realize it's a scam, or to talk to somebody else so they can tell you it's a scam, right? So they want you to act fast so you can't realize it's a scam. And then I think this is probably the biggest red flag out of all four of them. They tell you to pay in a specific way. So especially this time of year, in the holidays, they're going to tell you you have to pay in a gift card. They're going to tell you you have to pay by cryptocurrency. They're going to tell you some specific form of payment. And the reason this is always going to be a scam, because no legitimate business is going to force you to pay by gift card. You may have heard me say this before if you've been here in the last couple of months. Wouldn't it be weird if Walmart, you go to Walmart, you're doing your shopping and you get to the counter to pay, and you go to pay with your debit card and they're like, "Oh, sorry, it's Friday, and on Fridays you can only pay with cryptocurrency now. So no, we don't take anything else but cryptocurrency." That'd be really weird, right? No legitimate business is going to force you to pay in a specific way. So if a person comes to you and says you have to pay by wire transfer, or you have to pay by iTunes gift card or Walmart gift card or whatever gift card or prepaid debit card or cryptocurrency, it's automatically a scam. There's never going to be a time where it's not a scam, especially if they're having you pay by cryptocurrency or gift card. Because scammers want those forms of payment because they're nearly untraceable. You're not going to get that money back. If you're doing a bank-to-bank transfer, you're going to want to call the FBI. Apparently, they have a 74% recovery rate for bank-to-bank transfers. But when it comes to like cryptocurrency and gift cards and things like that, you're most likely not going to get your money back if you send money to somebody. So how can we avoid scams in general? Number one, I don't know if this is like a Southern hospitality thing. Okay, I'm not from the South. As your resident non-Southerner, I am giving all the Southerners here the permission to not answer the phone. I've spoken to so many very sweet Southerners who are like, but it's rude to not answer the phone. Do not answer the phone if you do not recognize the phone number. Even if it's coming from a area code you recognize. So scammers will do that. It's called neighbor spoofing. Spoofing is a real legal term. Spoofing is when a scammer or identity thief will cover their real phone number with any other phone number of their choosing, right? They can do this with computers or even their phones. They can just put in whatever phone number they want and cover their real phone number. Your caller ID can't tell the difference. So that's why your caller ID may show it's coming from the IRS. Yeah, no, it's not coming from the IRS. The IRS is not calling you, okay? Even if it's coming from an 803 number, 843 number, whatever other South Carolina area code, that's called neighbor spoofing. Scammers and identity thieves know you're more likely to answer the phone if you recognize the area code. Do not answer the phone call. I'm giving you permission as your neighborhood non-Southerner, non-original South Carolinian, to not answer the phone. If it's somebody who needs to speak to you, they will leave a live voicemail, okay? And don't use the excuse that, oh, I have a lot of doctors' offices calling me who reminding me of doctor's appointments or giving me test results. I do too. Please let it go to voicemail if you don't recognize the phone number, okay? It's not worth it. Block the numbers as they come in if they don't leave voicemails. If they leave voicemails that are cut off in some way or they're robots, block the number, okay? It's not worth it. Number 2, don't give any personal or financial information for requests that you don't expect. Legitimate businesses do not call you and say, hey, we need to verify your identity. Can you give us your social security number? The FBI said this in the perfect way. If I walked up to you on the street in person and said, hi, I'm with US Bank. There's been some suspicious activity on your account. Can you give me your social security number so I can verify your identity? And we were in person. You think that was really weird, right? So why don't you think it's weird when it's on the phone or it's through an email or through a text message? Why are we not as suspicious of these other forms of communication as we would be if it were in person? I want you to think of it as if I walked up to you and asked you in person for the last 4 digits of your social security number, okay? No legitimate business is going to call you out of the blue and ask you for these details. The out of the blue is the key here. If you called your bank and you're waiting for a call back, okay, maybe it's legitimate. If you called your doctor and you're waiting for a call back, okay, maybe. But if somebody's calling you out of the blue, you didn't expect it, and they start asking you all of these questions, hang up. But you shouldn't have answered the phone in the first place, right? Number 3, high pressure tactics. This is one of those red flags, right? They're going to pressure you. Anyone who's trying to pressure you to make a decision is most likely an identity thief or a scammer. They're trying to trick you. They're trying to make you think off of your regular thinking patterns, right? So you say something you wouldn't normally say. You give over information you wouldn't normally give. So then you end up being the victim of identity theft. You end up giving over personal information you wouldn't normally give. You end up giving over your credit card information. You end up going and buying an iTunes gift card at the local Walgreens and scratching off the numbers on the back and emailing it to somebody you don't know, right? So if anyone starts pressuring you, not worth it. Delete the text message, delete the emails, delete the direct messages, hang up the phone. It's not worth it. Number 4, this is the red flag again. The moment somebody says, you got to pay this way, end that form of contact, right? You're just going to say, nope, not worth it. Not going to do it. If somebody says gift cards, cryptocurrency, wire transfers, cut off that form of contact. That is your biggest red flag, in my opinion. In my opinion, if anybody is saying gift cards, wire transfers, cryptocurrency, nope, that's a no-go. And number 5, this goes hand in hand with the pressure tactics. Take a step back and talk to somebody you trust. Take a deep breath. Just stop. and talk to a loved one, a friend, before you do anything, before you give over information, before you give over money. Tell someone. I always say 2 heads are better than 1, because that person may have insight that you don't. They may have an experience that you don't. They may have gotten the same call yesterday, okay? So it's always better to talk to somebody about it before you act. And if you don't have somebody to talk to, say somebody calls acting like your bank, it's a very common call would be, hi, I'm with US Bank. We noticed some suspicious activity on your account, and we want to make sure that it was you. Can you verify your identity? That's a very common phone call, email, whatever. What should you do in that situation? Well, I think that might be a weird thing to like call your friend about. What should you do? Either hang up the phone or find a bill, find a direct phone number for your bank, call them and say, hey, did you just call me? So you can verify and see. And then if it was them, tell them. Don't just call me out of the blue and start asking for my personal information, okay? Don't do that, because you sound like a scammer. All right, so what are some free tools to protect yourself? So multi-factor authentication is arguably the best tool you can use on a daily basis on all of your digital devices to keep your information safe, especially in this digital age. You most likely are using a cell phone. You're attending this webinar on a digital device. So this is when extra security is required to log into some type of account. This is on almost everything now. This is on a lot of social platforms. This is on almost all financial institutions. If your financial institution does not require multi-factor authentication, sometimes called 2-factor authentication, you should ask them why. So what this will look like is it's going to be something you have, like a passcode that you'll get either sent via a text message or a email. You might even have, I know like my husband, he works for the federal government. It could be like a key card. So in order to log into his laptop, he has a key card that he actually has to put in along with his password to get into his computer every single day. For me to get into my state computer, I have to put in my password and then I'm texted to log in on my phone. So I have to get in my phone with another password and then click a little button and then I'll log in. So it's a second factor. The first factor is my password. The second factor is clicking a button on my phone. Or it's something you are. So it's like a fingerprint, an eye scan, or your face. So if you have an iPhone, I don't have an Android, but I think Androids have the face scanning or even the fingerprint scanner on some devices. But to log in on your iPhone, on the old iPhones, I know I have an older iPhone for my work phone, I have the fingerprint scanner. And then on the new phone, I have the facial scanner, which will let me log in if I put in the password, and then it will log in. So use this on every device that you can and on every login that you can. It's free. If somebody is trying to charge you for multi-factor authentication, I'd ask why, okay? That should be a big question as to why. Here's just a visual of what multi-factor authentication would look like. So here's this password. Knowledge factor would be something you know. So that first factor would be your something you know. And then this second factor would be either one of these columns. So I mentioned like my husband, He has a card he has to put in. And then on your phone, you could put in your password and then your fingerprint, or you'd have your retina scan, your face scan. For me, I have to put in my password on my computer and then click on my smartphone. Just depends. On my phone, I have this set up for my online banking. So I have to put in my password and then it texts me a code. For my Facebook, it emails me a code. Go into your security settings of all of your accounts. They're usually in the security settings, and it'll say set up multi-factor or two-factor authentication. Use this, okay? Monitoring your financial accounts, set up those account alerts. So some examples would be spending thresholds on your financial accounts, new login alerts from unknown devices. This isn't even just financial accounts. This could be your Gmail, your email accounts. Is this you alerts? This is also for social media. So you could get an alert if somebody tries to log into your Facebook, whatever it may be. And then credit card credit report changes. So say somebody tries to open up a credit card in your name. If you do have a credit card already, a lot of credit cards will offer credit report monitoring and credit score monitoring, and you can go in and for free, they will send you emails if there's been any changes to your credit score. This could be something that would give you sort of an idea if somebody went in and tried to open up an account in your name. Call your credit card company and see if this is an option for free, okay? You always want to ask, is there anything that I'm going to have to pay for or an extra charge for that? Please share with care. We put so much information on the internet now with social media. Think before you post online. Criminals, identity thieves are using everything that we post online to guess our passwords and security questions and to steal our identities. So don't go thinking, oh, well, me posting about my children and my dog and all these other things is harmless. Well, most likely to remember your passwords, you've made your passwords about your children and your dog's name and your anniversaries and your birth dates and all those other things. So when you're posting about those on your public social media, scammers are using those as points to guess your passwords and steal your identity, right? So here is a good example. Stop sharing your personal info so scammers can try and guess your passwords and security questions. This is an example of those cute little surveys that go around every once in a while. I see them go around every couple of months where it's like, how did you and your spouse meet? And there's like 50 questions. And they're really in-depth questions. While it may seem really cute and you share them and your friends can comment, this is a treasure trove for identity thieves. They're going to save that information for themselves to either guess your passwords or to, it's called spear phishing, where they will use that information to then contact you later to seem more legitimate. So that's one of those red flags, right? They're going to contact you and act like somebody you recognize or trust. So you've given them so much information about your personal life that they're going to act and know so much about you and be like, wow, they already know so much about me. Yeah, and maybe they sound like somebody I could trust. Yeah, it's because you put it all out there for them, all right? Beware of free Wi-Fi hotspots. Please do not do your taxes at like Starbucks on their free Wi-Fi or at like McDonald's on their free Wi-Fi. They're not secure, which means that anyone may see what you're doing while you're connected. Don't online shop on free Wi-Fi or anything like that. Avoid logging into accounts like your email or financial services. Consider a virtual private network or a VPN. Or a personal mobile hotspot if you're going to do that, or just don't connect to the Wi-Fi. Just use your data. Okay, that's safe. using your data is more safe than connecting to the Wi-Fi. No, we don't want to use data because it costs us money, right? But if you stay connected to your data, that's safer and nobody can see what you're doing on your phone at that point. Please, we're all shopping online right now. I know at the holidays, do not use your debit card online. Only use a credit card. It has more insurance. If somebody were to hack into your accounts and they were to get your debit card, that's a straight line into your debit account, into your credit, into your checking account. That cash is going to be gone. And it's so much harder to get cash back than it is your credit card. That money on your credit card, as much as we want to think it's ours, it is not ours, okay? There's more insurance on credit cards. So just know that, and ask your bank or credit card company if they offer virtual cards. I know Capital One offers virtual cards now. The Apple Card has virtual cards. Call your credit card company, see if it's something they offer. What a virtual card is you'll be shopping on a browser, and it's a little extension you can put on your browser, and it will auto-generate a new credit card number every time you shop, and you can only use that number once. So even if somebody were to hack into that and see that number, guess what? It's not your credit card number and it's already been used. So ask your credit card company if that's something that you can use and if it's something they offer for free. And make sure the site you're shopping on is secure with that S after the HTTP. It doesn't mean that you can't be hacked, but what it does mean is that website has paid extra money to encrypt the information that's going in and out of their website, okay? So it's safer to put your information into these sites. We've got 13 minutes left, and I want to hit on this because this is so important for identity theft. Credit reports. You need to be checking your credit reports at least once a year. So annualcreditreport.com is the only place Consumer Affairs is going to tell you to go. And the reason is because it's authorized by federal law to not keep your information, save your information, or sell your information. All of the other places, you can get free credit reports from them, but oftentimes in their terms and conditions, it means that they're selling your information to third-party marketers. So you're going to start getting tons of credit card offers and insurance offers and things like that. This offers you one free credit report from each of the credit reporting agencies once a year. Now, you do have an offer every single week until the end of this year. It does not contain a credit score. You can pay to get your credit score. If you've got a credit card, that credit card will give you every credit card will now give you a credit score, okay? It's not going to be your official credit score, know that. If you want to see your hard official credit score, you will have to pay for that, unless you're going and you are getting a loan. I'm just going to let you know we have full presentations on credit reports and credit scores. You do not need to know your official credit score. You don't. It's not necessary. An estimate is perfect and works just fine. What you need to be doing is reviewing this carefully at least once a year. Why? This is how you find out if you've been a victim of identity theft. Why? Your credit report is arguably your most important piece of your identity. It has your current and past credit accounts, your credit limits, amounts, account balances, account payment histories, date of the account open and closed, name of the creditors, liens, civil suits, judgments, bankruptcies, inquiries, all of this. And oh dang it, I didn't put in the other slide. It has all of your information, personal information, names, addresses, phone numbers, previous addresses lived at. It has so much information about you. And if anyone were to, we'll go back to this last slide, if anyone were to open up a credit card in your name, a loan in your name, a utility account in your name, it would be here. Even if somebody were to attempt to apply for it, it would be here. because inquiries, if somebody were to inquire about a loan, so somebody were to apply for a loan or even just get a pre-approval for a loan, that would be on the credit report. So this is where you should be checking. If you see any suspicious activity, any activity that's not yours, like you see somebody applied for a credit card and that was not me. I did not apply for a credit card. And or 2 months ago, somebody tried to get a car loan in my name. That is a sign you could be the victim of identity theft, okay? This is why it's so important that you check your credit report at least once a year from each of these credit reporting agencies, because your credit report is used in so many other ways than just buying a home, buying a car, and borrowing money, because that's all we think about. All we think is, okay, I want to buy a house, I want to buy a car, and I want to borrow money. That's all I need to think about with my credit report. No, it's to set up utility accounts. It's to get a job, especially if you're handling money in that job. It's to rent an apartment. It's to buy insurance. It's to get a credit card. You have to, it's to get a cell phone. So many things now will check your credit report before you're approved. So please, please, please make it a habit to check your credit report often. And annualcreditreport.com is your official credit report. Your credit card companies, if you have a credit card, will show you the unofficial report, so you can just check back. So just ask your credit card companies about that too. Again, annualcreditreport.com, or you can call that number. Do this, please, at least once a year. I beg of you. I beg of you. And in this last couple of minutes, I have a full explanation of what fraud alerts and security freezes are. We're not going to have time to go in depth about this, but we have a full webinar. I think it's like a full hour webinar on our YouTube. I'll show you where to find that. But fraud alerts and security freezes are free, great tools to use for fraud prevention. So this is a notification you can add to your credit report. Tells anyone who is receiving a credit application in your name to verify your identity before processing the application. It pauses that credit check process, and the creditor has to verify your identity, okay? There's a couple of different types of fraud alerts. We won't go into those, but just know you'll most likely get the temporary fraud alert that lasts 1 year. If you have been a victim of identity theft, you're like officially a victim of identity theft, you can get one that lasts up to 7 years. It does not affect your credit. That's an often asked question. No, it does not affect your credit. And when does it make sense to get a fraud alert? If you're worried about misuse of your personal information, it's probably a good starting place for an added layer of security. Honestly, it's really easy to place a fraud alert, so I say why not? You just have to call one of the credit reporting agencies, one call, that's all. That's what we say. And then they'll talk to each other and they'll place it. So why not? It's free. I say, when does it make sense to get a fraud alert? Like anytime, okay? How do you place it? Again, one call, that's all. You'll just need state-issued photo ID, proof of address, and then if you want an extended alert, that 7-year, you'll need an identity theft report. The security freeze, it's sometimes called a credit freeze, will prevent you and others from opening up new accounts in your name. It lasts until you lift it, so it could be permanent if you wanted it to be. Only certain people can see your file when a freeze is in place. You can see it too, but like creditors can look at your file. So just know that this is, I call this the big daddy, because if an identity thief gets a hold of your social security number and they go and they try and apply for a new credit card in your name, they can't. Your credit report is on lockdown. They can't open up new accounts in your name. You are the one that can see your file. Creditors for current accounts, some government agencies can see it, and then companies that you pay to monitor your credit file could also see your credit file. In general, this is available to anyone, and I hear complaints about the security freeze a lot. This is such a huge headache. If you're trying to lift it, it can be a huge headache, especially if you lose your pins, because if you place them, you're going to get pins. Yes, it can be a headache. But what did I say before? The headache now, I think, is worth the ginormo migraine that you will get and have for a very long time if you become the victim of identity theft, right? The thousands of dollars that you could potentially lose, tens of thousands of dollars you could potentially lose if you're a victim. Here are just some rules about it, but you can thaw, which means you would temporarily remove the freeze. So say you wanted to go and like shop around for a car or like a mortgage loan, you could set like a parameter of like, I'm shopping around for 30 days, and then it would freeze after that 30 days is done. Or if you wanted to permanently lift it, you'd let them know. Does it affect your credit? No, it does not. It just affects your ability to open up new lines of credit. Why should you place a freeze? I honestly think if you're not shopping around for credit, this is a great option. This means that no one is opening up new lines of credit in your name, which is the hardest form of identity theft to recover from. Disputing and blocking on credit reports is very difficult and honestly is the biggest headache of all. So it's that added extra layer of security. If you're concerned about your information being misused, this is the strongest option. If you think you've been a victim, please call us. Please, please, please. We have an identity theft unit. You can either call us on the phone number down here, and we'll get you to the identity theft unit, or you can go to our website. I'm going to show you, not a blue screen. This is our website. So if you go to our website and go to identity theft and scams, you can report on our website here, and you'll fill it out and you can send it to us. We're working on a way to do a more automated way rather than PDF. We have an automated way to put in presentation forms too. We're working on that same concept for identity theft and scams. But you can do this online also. We want to help you figure out how to recover from identity theft. Please call us. Even if you don't know you've been a victim and you just think, okay, I'm not quite sure, I can't remember, please call us. We've got the tools in order for you to find out. This is one of our toolkits, how you can stop the damage. This is you request your report, fraud alert, security freeze, everything I've just spoken about is all right here in this toolkit. How you repair the damage, even going into the disputing and the blocking and the long-term alerts, all of this stuff. So we can't cover everything in the hour time frame. We have 1 minute left. So that's why we do this every Wednesday, right? So please, please, please call us. We have so many free tools that you can go through and check off all of these boxes. That's what we're here for. Okay, well, I'm not seeing any questions currently, and I'm not going to keep you any longer. So we'll see you next week. Bye.